Bump and Run with Bernie and Dahlby. Presented by Burrito Express, your local burrito joint. Now, here's Brett Bernheisel and Steve Dahlby.
All right, we've done it. I don't know what else to do. This is show 5, Dahlby. 5. The Vegas line on this show was 4. We've made it to 5. I don't know how we've done it.
We've gone over.
We've done it.
We've gone over.
You know what? From a gambling perspective, yes, the over has hit.
That's it. I can say that.
So,
I can't say much about gambling on the PGA Tour, but I can say that we went over for the shows.
Yeah, well, I can say whatever I want because I'm not legally obligated to be, that guy. But okay.
You haven't taken the class. You haven't taken the integrity class of the PGA Tour. I have.
And you know what? There's probably a really good chance. There's probably a really good chance that I'll never take that class. That'll be one of those that I'll skip going forward in my life. At 54 years old, I don't anticipate me doing it at 55, 60. So I think whatever you tell me happens on that test or that class or whatever, I'll just trust you and go with that.
There's no comeback of Bernie caddying on the PGA. There's no comeback.
No, the only thing that Bernie...
Would you ever?
Would I ever come back?
Uh-huh.
I don't know, to be honest with you. I mean, maybe. I mean, we saw Monday Q. He caddied for the first time in his life on the PGA Tour, stole a bib, which, I've stole a bib once before. Stole a bib. His guy made the cut. It was one of the coolest. Real quick, and before we get on with what we're going to talk about, following his Twitter account this week, Monday Q Info, was one of the. You felt like you were on a journey with him because Mark Baldwin Monday qualified. The guy, and by the way, we talked about it last week. The guy didn't miss an 18-inch putt. He missed a 12-inch putt, and Dahlby, he marked it before he missed it. So it wasn't one of those rush things. He marked it, then missed it. And Monday Q Info and Mark Baldwin got through the qualifying, made the cut. Just watching his journey, through his blog and stuff like that through the week was a really cool thing. And the Barracuda Championship came out because he came out on Twitter on like Tuesday or something and said, just so you know, I'm stealing this bib. And the Barracuda Championship responded with, we will have security turn the other way. And when the tournament was over, he took a picture of the bib and said, I forgot to give it back. And they said, no problem. Can you bring it back next year? So that was pretty cool.
Good for them.
That was a pretty cool.
Yeah.
That was a pretty cool thing. I know you watched, and you usually don't watch a lot of golf, as we always talk about on this program. The golf coming down the stretch, and I want to start with the fact being timed. These players are allowed 40 seconds per shot, 50 seconds if you're the first person to be on the tee, par 3, or hitting a driver or whatever. And DeChambeau, Harris English had this tournament locked, sealed, delivered, call it a day, let's move on. And Bryson had some issues. Almost hit it out of bounds next to a fence. They got a hole and a half behind, or maybe even, they said a hole and a half. Do you think, and English came out and said, I got rushed on the par 3. He made 2 doubles on a par 3s coming down the stretch when he hit that, it looked like my cut shot that started right and went right 40 yards in the water. Give me your thoughts on penalizing a player for playing too slow.
Well, I think in that case, and I don't, is Harris normally slow? That's my,
he's not fast.
I don't really know.
He's not fast. He's not fast.
Oh, okay. It'd be interesting to see how many bad times he's had because we know part of Bryson's history is that he was very slow. I think he's getting better, but he was very slow. And I think yesterday, things got extremely slow. So penalty, yeah, I think penalty is good. If you're slow, if you miss your time, if you're way behind, yeah, a penalty. But in Harris's case, he would have been better off taking the penalty. You see what I'm getting at?
Wow.
He would have been better off. He would have been better off continuing with his game and take the penalty. Because, I mean, it was a shit show, right? I mean, this was bad golf. And if it was bad golf caused by slow play, then, yeah, I would say for him, because I certainly didn't hear that he got a bad time Thursday through Saturday. He might have, but I didn't hear that. So if that's the case, maybe yesterday just there was a craziness, but I would say for him, play your game, and if you're a hole and a half behind, play your game and then go in and argue that it was Bryson's fault. It's the other guy's fault. It's not my fault. It's the other guy's fault.
Right.
So penalize him. Don't penalize me. But maybe if he would have, maybe a shot penalty would have been okay if he would have stayed in his game and played better. Now, this is all just me talking, but it's just, you never know. This is how I almost got. This is how I almost got thrown out.
2020. Go ahead. I'll let you finish. Go ahead.
I almost got thrown out of Augusta National one year at the Masters. I was there with Sean O'Hare, who we're going to talk about a little later. And I can't remember what day it was. It was day 3 or day 4. It was maybe day 3. He was playing well. And he played with somebody, and it wasn't Bryson, but let's say it was somebody that was very slow. Cannot remember. So
Kevin Na?
It wasn't Na. He's on the clock. They're on the clock, and they've got people, whatever, and I can tell it's the other guy. So we're going down 10, and I get out my phone to time them.
Uh-oh.
Right? So I start kind of timing the guys, right? I think it was second shot on 10. I time how long it takes Sean, no problem. Time the other guy, it wasn't a problem, but I'm timing. And then I get to 11, I go to the tee, kind of time them. I start walking down 11, down the right, and all of a sudden I have half a dozen security. Who are you? What are you doing? We need your phone. And I literally had to talk myself out of getting thrown out of the Augusta National. True. But what I was trying to do is it's not a good thing to bring that's not a good thing to bring your phone out at Augusta National. I mean, they probably still have my name. I might be on who knows? I might be on the watch list. But what I was trying to do was get some times so that in the case there was a penalty, that there was some information that, maybe could have been given to the committee. So, but there you go. I wasn't calling you. I was trying to time, but man, it was interesting. I mean, literally people, what are you doing? What's your name? Blah, blah, blah. So yeah, it was interesting.
Did you have an egg salad sandwich with you at the time?
No, but that's my sandwich of choice at Augusta National.
That's better than the pimento and cheese?
I've never tried the, yeah, I don't, I just, the thought of that pimento cheese doesn't bode well for me. And I grew up in Wisconsin. I like my cheese, but the pimento cheese just doesn't do it. So I go egg salad sandwich.
Clock still hasn't moved, by the way.
No.
Can we turn the clock next week? Just turn it to let people know that maybe it does work. There you go. Yeah. Okay. So, I know you're kidding about this, but maybe you're not. So let's dive into this even further. Honestly, you would have taken a one-shot penalty?
I would have stayed. I would have recommended to my player, if I knew my player, and if it was you, and I don't know, you tell me from the caddy perspective, but I would have told my player, this is not your fault. Your times are fine. I know they are. you stick to your guns, and then we'll deal with it after.
Because it obviously affected him. I mean,
well, that's the problem, right?
He
said he had a run. He said he was running between shots.
But the thing is, they weren't catching up any ground. The group in front of him was leaving him in the dust even still. So I mean, I get your call. What's the point? But I mean, running to a tee, you have a 3-shot lead, and all of a sudden they're like, all right, you know what? Let's stop. You get a 1-shot penalty, each of you, and continue. Now, I think they combined shot, if I'm not wrong, 81 on the back nine. I mean, you talked about like nobody, the golf was shit, and it was shit at the end. I mean, you can't take anything away from Answer for winning his first tournament ever on the PGA Tour. He's top 12 in the world now or whatever he might be. But it just looked like a guy that was completely locked in. And I think, and I'm not, and we all know I'm not a big Bryson fan, but I don't think he did it on purpose. I mean, he didn't try to hit it, 1 inch away from hitting out of bounds and all of a sudden, try to do this, miraculous recovery, and it took forever, and stuff like that. You take 10 minutes or 8 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever on a shot like that next to the fence, you're going to fall behind. And these tour pros are in such a, as you call it, Steve, a routine that they're used to playing at this pace, that if the group in front of you, gets a little faster, you're never going to catch up, right?
Right. And then that's the thing, even with the pressure to try to catch up. Like you said, they didn't catch up. They probably were 2 holes behind by the end anyway. And part of it, back to what I'm saying, is I'm not trying to promote slow play by any means, but
please
play your game so that you hit decent shots too, because you're going to play slower if you're English, you make double on both par 3s, hitting them in the water. You make a mess on the 16th, which is an easy hole, easy par 5. So, he had 40 on the back, and then Bryson follows on 11, follows Harris into the water, which from a standpoint of trying to catch the guy you're trying to chase down, you just have been given an opportunity, and then you make a mistake. So, it's not that I'm promoting slow play. I'm just saying a professional golfer, like you say, they have a rhythm. And if you get thrown off that rhythm, which obviously I think it affected Harris probably more than Bryson. I think Bryson just played awful. And it is interesting. Remember the U.S. Open up at Torrey, the last 9 holes, he kind of had a chance and shot a million. He did it again. So, what's going on with Bryson coming down the stretch here? It's interesting, but yeah, you don't want to play. I think you want to play your pace. I think in the case yesterday, they were trying, maybe, I don't know about Bryson, but I think Harris was trying to hustle and it threw him off.
Well, I mean, when a tour official's waiting for you on a tee box, you know that he's not there to say, how's everything going? What's good with the wife? What's good with the kids? You know, when you see a tour official on the following tee that something is not right. And, right. And that's what happened. Now, he can blame it all he wants on, that. And he's had Harris English by far. I mean, if he'd have won this tournament this week, there's no way he's not player of the year, whether he wins the FedEx Cup or not. And that's just my opinion. But when he hits the shot in the water on 13 or whatever it was, the second par 3, Dahlby, that shot, honestly, that looked like me coming to you in a range session at Phoenix Country Club with not warming up, and that would have been my third swing of the day, because not only did it start right of the flag hitting a cut, it landed 30 yards in the middle of the water. So I get what you're saying about taking the penalty. It's never going to happen. If that happens, then I can do a whole show, or you and I can do a whole show on, why you shouldn't have or whatever. But that's left of the flag, 170 yards, 30 feet, 2-putt. Let's move on and go win the golf tournament. Instead, it was that cut, push, whatever I hit, shank, half shank or whatever, into the middle of the lake. As a tour professional, I think that and it could be caddy year too. It could be caddy year. I'll blame it. I'm a caddy, former caddy, but that shot should have been left of the flag, 30 feet behind the hole. Let's move on and go win the golf tournament.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing on the 14th hole, the par 3 down the hill. It is an intimidating
14.
shot. It's an intimidating shot. It's a long shot down the hill, but you can play to the front left fringe, and then go up the green, and it's fine. It might be a back right pin placement, but if you're just not right, and Bernie, if you're on the bag and your player's not quite right, maybe there is okay, well, let's go over here and then putt up the hill or chip up the hill and then go from there. Because that was an awful shot. But it's interesting with Harris since the beginning of May, and he's had a win, he's had a third, he just had a fourth, but at the Wells Fargo Championship on Sunday, 74. PGA Championship, he had 72. It was, that's a major, so the golf course is playing hard. And then remember in the tournament in South Carolina, the Palmetto, he had that tournament and shot 74 the last day to lose the golf tournament. So as well as Harris is playing, there is occasionally this, maybe not quite getting it done on Sundays. So, at the Travelers, he shot 65 on Sunday, and we saw him, in the playoff, and that was great. But I'm just saying there have been some tough Sundays as well. So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting with Harris, and then it's interesting just with Bryson. When I point out the U.S. Open, kind of the blow up, and then yesterday was, that was just dumb. That was just dumb.
One of your favorite players won the Olympics this week, Nelly Korda. It's really cool, and I didn't watch a lot of it. I tried to watch the last 3 or 4 holes, and then they had the rain delay, and I switched over, and then I didn't know it was only going to be like a 15 or 20-minute delay, and I come back, and they're on 18. But the U.S. gets 2 victories this year at the Olympics, and I know you were excited for that. I know that you watched the women's because of Nelly. I know you're a big fan of the Korda sisters.
I am, and I think it's interesting because of the family. You've got the dad who won the Australian Open in tennis. The mom, I think, was a tennis player. The little brother is an up and coming tennis player, and then obviously you have the 2 sisters. But Bernie, Nelly's got to be your hero. She plays fast. She's waiting to hit, and the ball's up in the air, and she's ready to go. I mean, she's like Lee Trevino used to be. Trevino was fast. He would, the ball wasn't even down from the playing partner, and he's getting ready to hit. That's Nelly Korda. So she's the opposite of what happened on Sunday. And the one thing that I like a lot about her game is that she has power, but she has this great swing. You asked me, who do I think has the best swing in golf? And I think back years ago, Ben Hogan was asked who had the best swing at the time. And he answered Mickey Wright. And yep. I don't know, Bernie, have you ever seen Mickey Wright swing?
Yes. Yeah. I'm old enough that I've seen. Yeah.
It's really good. And then if you haven't seen Mickey Wright swing in that era, when she played, that was a swing. And Hogan was probably right. She probably had the best swing in golf. And that's pretty strong coming from Ben Hogan. I think Ben Hogan would like Nelly Corda's golf swing a lot. And so I think it's very fun to watch her play because she has power, but she's also precise, where I think sometimes on the PGA Tour, it's become this, bomb and gouge game. And, more power to Bryson for bringing power into the game. But God almighty, sometimes it's sloppy. And watching the ladies the other day, there wasn't sloppy golf. It was good. It was good, solid golf all the way around. So yeah, I enjoyed watching the ladies play.
When you look at players, whether it's the LPGA, PGA, or whatever tour it might be, do you always look at the swing that player possesses as far as like teachability, or is it, a guy could have a player could have a awkward swing, whether it's a Matthew Wolff or a John Rahm that takes it back maybe even shorter than I do? Or do you look at the complete package before like assessing what your views and takes are on that player?
Yeah, I think I look at every player, and looking at every player, how they play the game is probably the most important. So like a Matt Wolff, for example, and understanding what his coach is trying to do. So Matt Wolff has a unique swing, but he takes it, it's outside, then he drops it, and then he rotates his body like heck. That's what his coach, that's George Genkus, that's what he talks about. Maybe not so much the takeaway, but that's kind of the things that he talks about. So I understand, I can understand why Matthew Wolff does it the way he does it. But I always look at swings, and it's fun to see a game and a swing that I guess kind of match up, like you're talking about, and we talk about, I mentioned Trevino. Some say Trevino had a great swing. Others would say, it was kind of a different swing. He got it done. It might not have looked as pretty as Tom Weiskopf's swing back in that era.
Sure.
Players probably would have loved to have Tom Weiskopf's swing in that era, but he got it done. So I always look at swings and I think, wow, what could be changed, but you have to admire with each player, what their swings can do. Each player on the PGA Tour or the LPGA Tour or the European Tour, they're all out there and it's hard. But with Nelly Corda, it's like it's an awesome golf swing that produces really good golf, and I think she's probably at 23 years old. She's got a nice run here, hopefully, and maybe is the face of the game for a few years. And it's in my mind, it's nice to have that golf swing be something that we all can look at and maybe compare ourselves to, because it's just, it's just like Ben Hogan would talk about Mickey Wright. It's just a swing that we all should take a look at and admire.
Okay. So we're going to keep on this subject for a second, because, and I know personally, you've told me, and I'm not going to name players or anything like that. I know players have come up to you that have said, and talked about Sean O'Hare's swing. Mm-hmm. And congratulations, by the way, to Sean O'Hare this week, finishing 9th at the Barracuda. He gets in the Wyndham Championship this week. He still has that chance at what we called last week, lightning in a bottle to keep his card. Worst case scenario, he goes to the Korn Ferry Finals and can get it that way. But players have come to you and said, hey, this swing that you've helped Sean build or whatever is the swing that I want. How hard is it from a coach's perspective to be able to change somebody's swing to emulate like a Sean O'Hare? I know you have a bunch of players, and I know they're each different, but can you or will you take somebody's swing and try to perfect what somebody else's swing looks like?
That's a good question, Bernie, because and it's something that I've thought about. and when I started, I worked for Golf Digest schools, and then I was hired at True North. And at True North, I had this room, this studio, and that's where I met Sean when he was, I don't know, 12, 13 years old. And we would go inside this studio and video. It was all video. And it was about making a swing that worked, but in a way, it was also making a swing kind of based off some ideas I had about what a golf swing should look like. So that, I'd draw a line on I remember I'd draw a line with a Sharpie marker, a dry erase marker on a TV screen, and we'd put his swing up there, and there'd be certain spots we'd be trying to hit. And, inside is a great way to work on sort of the positions of your swing. And with Sean, and I've seen his swing, some video of his swing. I have some when he was, say 15 years old. It was really, really good. And it produced good results, but it also had a very, it was a swing that you'd want to have. And then over time, Sean has changed his swing. I think right now he's swinging at it very, very nicely and sort of positionally. And in my mind, I kind of have for each player kind of the positions that I would want them in. Okay, so, I'd like the club here at takeaway. I'd like the club up here at the top. I want it in a position, there's kind of these parameters that are kind of, in my mind, perfect. That doesn't always mean with each player that I have that we go there, because I've kind of got a little bit away from just being in the studio and being more on the golf course and thinking more about how does each player play the best golf based on kind of what we find. None of my players' swings look the same, I guess. And I think about that because it would be, and I don't have, I wish I did have that room a little bit just to, or maybe a little more technology than I use sometimes just to see about, what my players' swings look like. But for the most part, my players' swings look different.
I'm one of your players. Does my swing look like? Does my swing look like anybody that you've ever taught before ever? Because my game sucks, dude. My game.
Yeah.
I hit it. So I played last week in the Tuesday match. Okay, at Talking Stick, which maybe wasn't in the best shape, but I hit a sand wedge from 105 yards. Out of bounds. And I don't think that's really what the sand wedge is intended for. I mean, my swing, my game, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. I think it's all mental.
Yeah.
I think it's all mental right now, but my game is, I had an unplayable lie in the first hole, and then I hit a sand wedge out of bounds on number 2. I started off double, and from there it was right down the hill. And I'm in Bernie's bunker, by the way. You still haven't named your place, right?
No, I'm still thinking about it. Thinking about it a lot. Was it the par 5, the second hole at Talking Stick?
Yeah.
With the fence up on the left?
Drive.
Okay.
Yeah, fence, reservation. Yeah, I had a perfect. I didn't say perfect drive. I kind of heel cut it, probably about 260 out there. Then smoked a hybrid down there about 105, and then dead pulled it right out of bounds into the lumberyard. Terrible.
Because
you have no answer. I knew you wouldn't.
No, I'm thinking because that one might be a little bit on me because and what I'm going to say about that is trying to get you to release the golf club, right? Trying to get you to come through it and hit more draws. That's what we've kind of talked about because you do have kind of your swing is a little more on sort of the flat side coming down or coming from the inside.
Sure.
So with that, I'd like some release so that you could hit a draw. So I would say, if you were going to blame anybody, and in golf, you don't want to blame yourself, you would blame the fact that we've talked about your release a little bit and you overcooked it. So, in that case, did you hit it solid, the wedge?
Yeah, it probably went about 130 yards.
Yeah. So I mean,
it was, and it was
over.
It landed on anybody that lives in the valley, and we're playing talking stick. It landed like closer to the 101 than it did the flag. I mean, it was god awful. And then I'm playing with our good friend Adam, and he and a friend of his, Coop, and they thought I was hitting a practice ball. And I'm like, nope, drop the ball. By the way, and I'm going to get off this. By the way, I played with a guy on Tuesday last week. He's 80 years old. 80. Okay? Shot 78. And it was the easiest 78 you've ever seen in your entire life. Yeah, hits it right down the middle, about 245, 250. Hits the second shot up, middle of the green, 2 putts, and just move. I mean, it was really cool. And I'd never met the guy in my life, and I got paired with him and had to ride in the cart. I let him drive the cart because he's older, of course, and that's just who I am. But I'm like, how many times you shot your age? I don't know, a lot. And he just went out, shot 78. I think I shot, 108, and it was pretty cool. I've never seen anybody ever shoot their age before, but that was really cool. This is a big week. The Wyndham. We talked about O'Hare getting in. I know Chris Schubert has the stats up there. It's also a big week on the Corn Ferry Tour, which is the final event this year, regular season. It's been going on for 2 years now since COVID last year. The top 25 get their cards on the KFT Tour. A lot of things are happening on the regular tour, and a lot of people probably don't know this. The top 125 get their cards for next year. The top 126 to 150 get conditional status after, and it goes regular tour, the players off the Corn Ferry Tour that get the 50 cards there, and then it's the players after that that get conditional status. So it's all like a ranking system, but also on the Corn Ferry Tour, anybody from 26 that doesn't get their card to 70 get to go to the Corn Ferry Tour finals. Now, the players on the regular tour from 126 to 200 immediately go to the Corn Ferry Tour finals, which begin not this week, but next week, for an opportunity to get one of those available 25 cards. There's a lot of pressure this week on some of these guys, Dahlby.
Well, and that's where I think, in a way, yesterday, it was more interesting to watch the Barracuda Championship because
unbelievable.
They're already talking about the FedEx points and where are you, and so for a guy like Scott Piercy, who was trying to win that tournament yesterday, and Scott Piercy was a guy, 4 or 5 years ago that seemed like in every major he was kind of right there through 3 days. Mm-hmm. He hasn't been playing his best golf. He was playing well this week, and he worked himself up right now. Now he is the bubble guy. He's 126. So he's got some work to do this week in Greensboro because, at 126, he needs to get over the top. Whether he has some way of getting back on the tour, past champion status or whatever, he want to get in the playoffs. So at 126, he needs to play well this week to go up and over. And so, this top 125 list, there's some guys, 120 is CT Pan, 122 is Ryan Armour, and 23 is Patrick Rogers. Then you've got Matt Kuchar, Bo Hogue. And so you've got Nate Lashley at 127. Now he won. When did he win Detroit? 2 years ago.
I think this is the end of his deal here. I think this is the end of his exemption. I think.
Because explain what happens when you win.
Okay, so when you win on the PGA Tour, you get a 2-year exemption plus the rest of that year. So, like, if you win early in the season, it's basically like 3 years. But you get the rest of the year that you won plus the following 2 years to keep your card. And the reason I brought this up is I looked at, like, you've talked about, like, Kuchar. When's the last time that Kuchar didn't make the FedEx Cup playoffs? When's
right?
you look at some of these players, and I'm you can take, and don't get me wrong, I love Troy Merritt, but I don't 70, 60, those I'm watching guys that are 118 to 140. I'm watching guys on the Corn Ferry Tour from 23 to 40 to whatever, to be able to, because whether you finish 125 and better, you get your card. But the guys from 126 to 150 still have an opportunity, especially the way the PGA Tour is nowadays, to be able to get into 10, 12, 14 events. So you still have some kind of status. Now, I know that, we talked about O'Hare being in a 170 right now, or whatever he might be after his ninth. He's going to get, whether he doesn't get his top 125 tour card, or whether he misses at Corn Ferry finals, he's still going to have an opportunity, probably the way this thing runs nowadays, to probably, and maybe I'm wrong, Steve, and you can tell me, get in at least 8 to 10 events next year?
I would think so, yeah, with past champion status. But it is the thing about past champion status. I mean, it's great to be a past champion if you win a PGA Tour event, and you always have some kind of status. But you don't always know. You don't always know exactly when you're going to get in. You can go back and look at last year and see, but you can't build your schedule. So it is important to be in that 125. So Nate Lashley won, Bernie will say won July of 2019. So he would have the rest of 19, then last year, and then this year, right?
But isn't 2021 considered 1 year? Or is that only on the Corn Ferry Tour?
Yeah, only on the Corn Ferry. It's not a wraparound.
So he at 127
could be in jeopardy right now. He better play well this week, I guess is what we're going to say. So it is now. This week it is the Greensboro. It's the only event on the PGA Tour. There's not an opposite field event. But this week, Greensboro, it is exciting to watch. I'll watch on Sunday, when they're flashing where the FedEx thing is, and they'll have the bubbles. I mean, it's interesting.
Why didn't Troy play this? Troy's not playing Greensboro. He's on the bubble. He's definitely in. He's 69th, 70th, whatever he might be right now. Why is he not playing? Because of playing too many weeks in a row? Doesn't like the golf course, wants to get ready for the playoffs, thinks it's better to spend a week at home with the family and then get ready. I mean, thought, logic.
Yeah. He started the week at 67 on the FedEx. He did choose to play it in Reno or Tahoe. The last 2 seasons he's had good luck in the tournament. It was runner up both seasons. So the thought process from there is to go to a course that you've had some success on. It's not that he doesn't like the golf course in Greensboro. He hasn't had much success there. So we were kind of hoping he'd go to Reno, top 10, maybe sneak up to 60, on the FedEx list, or maybe it was his turn to win this thing after 2 runners up. It didn't work out that way. Tied for 51st, I think, this week. So he did drop 1 spot. He's 68. So it'll be for me or for him or for Wayno. We'll just be kind of seeing where his number moves in terms of the top 70, because everybody's fighting to get in that top 125 this week at Greensboro.
Sure.
But then the next week at Liberty National, the first playoff event, you've got 125 guys, and then the next tournament, the BMW, it's the top 70. So with Troy at 68, we kind of know he's going to be a bubble boy the week of Liberty National. So, you might say, well, why didn't he go to Greensboro? It was a situation where he has played a lot of golf. Little break isn't the worst thing in the world. And we kind of were like, okay, which one are you going to take? Let's go take the one where you've had success. And didn't work. It's just the strategy makes sense, but it just didn't work. So sometimes that happens, and then you just kind of we'll watch and see, and it really now is just okay. What can happen in that first tournament, and with quadruple points in the FedEx, there'll be a lot of movement in that first event, and the goal is still let's get to the Tour Championship, and
Sure.
that happened. That happened a few years ago. I started working again for I don't know what time with Sean, and I actually went to Greensboro. He was, let's say, 120 on the FedEx list. He had a good week and worked his way up a little bit, and then the first playoff event he was runner up, and that was enough. Those two good tournaments were enough to get him to the Tour Championship, which there's a lot of benefit of getting to the Tour Championship. So that's always a goal. Your first goal is to keep your job, but then your next goal is to, I guess, get to the Tour Championship. And then, like the guy that won at Barracuda, Eric Van Rooyen, who, Bernie, I know you're a very big fan of.
Jesus Christ.
He went from 139 to 78, and that little snap hook he hit on the last hole worked out just fine, didn't it?
We've had, and just so everybody knows, everybody on TV calls him Adam Schenk. His name is Adam Schenk. Schenk. Trust me, Dahlby and I have had him on the show a couple of times, and we're going to have him back on our podcast here.
He's a good guy. He's a good guy.
He's a really good guy, and his former coach at Purdue, Rob Bradley, is a very good friend of mine, and he actually worked for him for 3 or 4 weeks during the summer. Kip Henley's brother, who's been on our show, Brent, is now caddying for him. But Van Rooyen comes to the last hole, and you know what? I mean, you can talk about strategy all you want. You can talk about good caddying, bad caddying, shitty caddying, whatever it might be. This guy comes to the last hole 3 points ahead. 3. Par 4, I don't know how far it is. You can tell me, Steve. 500 yards, 480. I mean, they're playing in altitude, whatever it might be. All you have to do is make bogey or better, and you win this golf tournament. Okay? Very simple. Hit a 5-iron down there. Hit a 7-iron. I don't lay it up 80 yards. I don't care. It doesn't matter. This guy comes to the last hole, and this is the guy that, if you all remember, probably a couple of months ago, 3 months ago, took a driver or an iron off a tee marker, blasted the tee marker, and the club snapped in half. I think it was at the Bear Trap at Nicholas's place, and the club almost hit a caddy right in the face, and then they had words later, but whatever. All you have to do is lay it up. This guy hits this big snap hook, and I mean, when I talk about snap hook, this thing's going out of bounds for sure. And when you knock it out of bounds, you're guaranteed to make at least double bogey, which is -3 points, would now put you in a playoff position. And it hits this random, well, I wouldn't say random, and there's a lot of trees in Reno, or Truckee, wherever they're playing. And it comes back in the fairway, and then he knocks it on the green and makes this 12-footer for birdie. And if you're a person that just like reads the newspaper the next day, which nobody even buys a newspaper, or reads it on the internet, he wins by 4 or 5 points, and it's nothing. But nobody knows the drama that this ball, Steve, and you know it, was going out of bounds. He's making at least double. He's going in a playoff, but now he makes birdie in the last hole and wins the tournament comfortably, if you were reading in the paper.
Yeah, no, and it was, and he even said worst shot of the week, and it was heading left, but it is, the winner always does seem like there's something good that happens. For him, it happened on the last hole, and there's things that happen the week that you win, it seems like, with all the guys, and I talk about Troy being runner-up 2 years in a row, Morikawa, birdies 4 of the last 5 holes the one year, and last year Richie Werwinski pitches in on the 16th hole and then birdies the 18th hole. Your guy, though, Adam, he started 113th, started the week at 113, and so if he didn't play well, let's say he missed the cut, he might have fell to 120th on the FedEx list, and then this week is very, very important. What he was able to do in Truckee was to go from 113th to 95th, even though he didn't have the last 9 holes that he wanted by any means. It just wasn't his day. But he's 95th now, so he has a job for next year. He's going to be fully exempt. He's going to be able to make his schedule. So in some ways, he did what he needed to do when he drove over to Truckee, California. So congratulations about that. Now you try to go from 95th to 23rd, and you just never know what happens in these next couple weeks for these guys.
So, okay, so let's so you bring up Adam, and it's Shink, and that's how it's pronounced, and Dahlby knows that as well. Do you is it a free roll now? I mean, this guy, real quick, and we're not going to talk about him, but this guy plays like 35 or 30. He plays the most tournaments of anybody in tour. Do you this week just let so do you just let it go, or how about a Will Zalatoris this week, who a lot of people don't understand? Here's a top 20 player in the world that his FedEx Cup ranking is 0 because he's not a member of the PGA Tour, because he's never won a tournament. He came up from the Korn Ferry Tour, the KFT. He has to win this tournament to be able to get in the FedEx Cup playoffs, even though if he was a member of the tour, he'd be in the top 15 right now. Does a guy like that, or a guy like Adam Schenk, just all of a sudden tee up in the first hole and go, all right, wherever the flag is, just let me know we're hitting right at it? Or do you play a different mindset? I mean, Zalatoris, I think, has to go win the tournament or he's out. Or do you play like Schenk and maybe try to pick up 5 or 10 spots, 15 spots, 20 spots by, finishing 18th, 20th instead of going for the victory?
Yeah, I think all of these guys will just continue to play their games, and Bryson DeChambeau is going to try to drive every green, humanly possible. Adam Schenk might, I don't know his game. But it seems like he pretty good off the tee, so he's going to stick to his game plan, I would think, because his game plan works. I mean, you say, well, gosh, he's 95th on the FedEx list. It's hard to be in that top 125. It's really hard. So I think he can feel comfortable this week, and maybe freewheel it a little bit. But I would say it's more of, okay, there's not as much pressure as there is on a guy, Scott Piercy, this week, who's 126. That's pressure. For Matt Kuchar,
okay. Real quick, let me interrupt you real quick. Do you so a Piercy or somebody? Let's say a Patrick Rogers who's 123. The guys from let's say the guy from one. I don't even know if he met 117 to 123, 24, 25. Are you playing the week just to make the cut?
I think if you're 117 to 125, the first thing you have to do is make the cut. And then once you make the cut, now depending on kind of where everything happens, you may have to change your game plan a little bit on Sunday. But yeah, I would think those first couple days, you're very aware of where that cut line is. If you go out and you just play great, that's perfect. You don't have to worry about the cut. But on Friday, you better damn well know where that cut line is and make sure that you have the chance to be playing on the weekend. Scott Stallings is 117. I don't think Scott's I don't think he's been playing better this year, but I don't think he's won for a while. So yeah, at 117, he's got to make that cut. And then on the weekend, I think it's kind of see where things are. And so Piercy, the first thing he's got to do is make the cut. Nate Lashley's got to make the cut. Didn't Michael Thompson win lately? He's probably okay.
I think he won last year. He's good.
Camilo Villegas, he was playing on a medical. He's 129. Let's go make this cut. Ricky Fowler's 130. Go get in the playoffs. And he chose not to play last week.
I think Fowler's fine because he's got one thing about Ricky Fowler, he's got top 50 all-time money winners, top 25 all-time money winners. So he's, but you don't want to burn these exemptions. You don't want to burn a year if you don't have to.
And he wants to be in the playoffs, so that's Chesson Hadley, get in the playoffs at 132. So it'll be fun. I mean, it's fun to watch who's winning the golf tournament, but it's really, I think the Greensboro is excellent where you watch who's doing what with regards to that 125 line. I think that's more exciting than probably who's winning the tournament.
I think this is this week coming up is and I know the word doesn't exist, but this is one of my funnest, and I'll say the word funnest because I can. This is one of my funnest weeks of the year because of the scenarios that can happen on both the KFT and the PGA Tour. Now,
well, that's what I was going to say. The Korn Ferry Tour, right? Here you go.
Yeah. So on Sunday, I actually, and I'll be honest, I watched more Korn Ferry and Barracuda than I did the WGC because, to be honest with you, I didn't even care about the WGC, and that's just me, because of the scenarios that happen on both these tours for what we're talking about right now. But there's a guy, I think his name is Taylor Montgomery. I think Montgomery. I've never seen this in all the years. You know who he is?
Yes. So Taylor, okay. I know most of these guys, but Taylor Montgomery. So our buddy Cliff Vanetti in Las Vegas. Taught Taylor from the time he was a little kid to probably his first year as a pro or so. He went to UNLV. His dad is the director of golf at Shadow Creek. Monty, they call him Monty. He played for UNLV as well. He was on those great teams at UNLV. So and Taylor actually. So I've known Taylor a little bit over the years, and I ran into Taylor at the U.S. Open because on day 3 of the U.S. Open at Torrey Pines, he played with Troy. He played with Troy Merritt. Taylor's an up-and-coming player, and he's doing well. So I thought last he was tied second in Utah. I thought that would get him over the top. He's at 24. They take the top 25 guys. So there's one more week on the Korn Ferry, and he's got to go this week as well. But it was funny because I said hi to Taylor. I'm not usually on what hole was it? So at Torrey Pines, it's 16, the par 3. So 15, you play the par 4, and then they had the tee for 16 kind of over on a different side. So he had to kind of walk right by, and there wasn't anybody out watching Troy Merritt and Taylor that day.
Sure.
So I held the rope up for his caddy and he just said hi, and he started talking to me a little bit, and I said, hey, let's, I asked him about, where he was at on the Korn Ferry, and at the time he was in pretty good shape, but he's been kind of hovering around this 28. And I said, well, go get it done, and I'll see you in Las Vegas on the regular tour. So hopefully he can get it done. He's a good kid.
Well, the reason I brought it up is, and I've never seen this. So they're on the final hole in Utah, and he hits a good drive, and he gets a brand new glove out for his second shot. And it probably happens, but I've never seen it. He asks the caddy for a brand new glove. He gets a brand new glove, puts it on, he stretches it out a little bit, goes to get ready to hit a shot. Then he calls himself off the shot and goes and gets the wet towel to put the wet on the grip, and then hits a perfect shot about 15 feet, makes a putt, and finishes second. But I don't ever remember seeing a pro ever change gloves on the second to last shot, or the last shot they're going to hit in a tour event. Have you ever seen that?
Well, I haven't, but it just shows you what nerves can do.
Yeah.
Right. It shows you what nerves can do, where, maybe the hands didn't feel quite right. And I usually chip when I do play. I chip with glove off. But there have been a couple times where I've been playing in something, and it's years ago, where I was a little nervous and I chipped glove on so I could make sure I held on to the club. And so it happens. For Taylor, he was probably, he was probably trying to just somehow feel the golf club a little bit more. And it was actually his dad, Monty, was on the bag yesterday. His regular caddy was off. So it was probably fun for his dad to be out there with his son and watching him play great golf and birdie those last 2 holes to run tied second. And, now he's 24th. So play good this week, and you've changed your, you play good this week. And if you're in the top 25 on the Korn Ferry Tour list, you now have your regular card. You'll still go to these Korn Ferry finals and play for position. So there's a lot of golf. There's a lot of golf in front of Taylor here the next, 4 or 5 weeks.
Chris Schubert, you around? Shu, calling for Shu.
Hello, gentlemen.
There's Shu.
Guys, guess what? Who you got?
Oh, it's back.
We're doing it again.
Let's go.
Who you got? Yes, Burrito Express, your local burrito joint, is sponsoring Who You Got. Now, we used to do this, just so people know, and you watch a lot of golf podcasts of people that do. People pick, but this is something that we started 2 or 3 years ago, and we are going to start it back up today. And since Shu, I think you won the last event that we did this 2 or 3 years ago, or whatever it was, 912 weeks ago, or whatever it might have been. I have decided, and I haven't even asked Dahlby, I have decided that you were going to make the first pick on Who You Got on this podcast.
Wow.
For the Wyndham Championship.
Yeah.
Chris Schubert, who do you have?
That's a lot of pressure to give me the first spot. I don't even remember who I picked in the last time that we did this in order to win. But I'm going to go with
I
the
think
guy.
the last person you... Wait, hold on.
Okay.
If I remember correctly, the last person you picked when we had this radio show was Tom Watson. Was that long ago?
Wow. That is long ago. That's going way back.
Look at Dahlby. Look at Dahlby right now. Look at Dahlby. He is looking at the list of who's playing because he has no idea we were doing this.
Well, there's
right
pressure.
Now, he is fucking
there's
searching
pressure.
For somebody.
He wants to win. He doesn't want to lose. He doesn't want to finish in third here. He wants to pick up. He wants to pick a player to win.
Look, he is scrolling.
There's a tournament this week.
All right.
So.
Yeah, there is a tournament. Yeah, look at him. Look, he can't even see anymore because he's over 50. All right, Schubert, who do you got?
Josh Teeter's first alternate, so there you go.
So I'm picking a guy.
Him if he's first alternate.
No, won't be taking him. Guy, last time he played at this course, tied for third. Give me Kevin Kisner this week at the Wyndham.
Kevin Kisner. All right.
Going with Kiz.
Dahlby, do you want to go second or do you want to go last?
I'll keep studying my field here.
All right, so you went Kisner. I will kind of bounce off that, and I'm going to take Patton Kazire. Kisner and Kazire are off the board, Dahlby. Look at that clock. Next week, hey, do me a favor. Can you have your wife, Amy, next week just turn the clock just a little bit so our people think it's a little bit different each and every week?
No. We're good. It's all good. We're fine.
That's exactly.
Oh, man. There are a lot of guys playing.
Yeah,
there's 156 of them.
I will go with another Kevin. He's a very good putter. We'll take Kevin Na to win the Wyndham. Yeah, Kevin Na.
So we got Kisner, Kazire, and Na. That's the 3 picks.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, this is podcast 5 is over. Dahlby, any parting words before we end this this beautiful program that we've done tonight?
Well, I'm still looking at this field, seeing if I messed up, but we'll go with Kevin Na. Oh, I should have taken my guy, Captain America. I know you're another one of your favorites. No, it's fine. It's fine. Na's a good pick. Yeah, I think it was a big week of golf, actually, and it was there was a lot going on. It was fun to watch. And I did watch golf this week. It was fun to watch different stuff. This week will be exciting with regards to points and just those numbers. And I'm excited for Taylor Montgomery. I wish he would have been able to win and just be done. But we'll see if Cliff's old guy can get it done next week.
All right, for Sean Cressman, Chris Schubert, For Dahlby, I'm Bernie. Hey, my name was Brett earlier. Now it's Bernie. It changes but it doesn't matter. Call me whatever. Doesn't matter. Call me an idiot. But thanks for watching our podcast, and we'll talk to you next week.
Hit them straight, everybody.